Ready to go. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to a regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors. Today is Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Yes, Chair, there is an addition to the agenda that came to the attention of the county after the agenda was posted, and there is need to take immediate action. If the board desires to add this item, it requires a 2/3 vote for consideration. The item, which there will be copies for members of the public, and it'll be available online when it's available online, is a resolution appointing Michelle May as a retired annuitant to the position of Assistant Director of Human Resources of the County of Madera Human Resources Department, and also in that resolution waiving the 180-day wait period from the date of retirement and making findings in support thereof. Thank you.
I move that we take up this item, find the need rose after the posting.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers,
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Supervisor Wamha,
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. Are there any other additions to the agenda? That's
There are no other
enough.
additionals.
Very good.
Additional
Thank you.
additions.
We will now ask our counsel to read in the closed session item.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. There's one item for your closed session today, and that's under Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with your labor negotiators. The agency designated representatives are Joel Begay, Assistant County Administrative Officer, and Susan Carter, Human Resources Manager. The employee organization are all units, including all classifications of unrepresented employees, but not elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public that have a comment regarding this closed session item? Seeing and hearing none, we will move into closed session. Today is April 9th, 2024. Council, are there any items to report out of closed session?
Chairman, there are no reportable actions from your closed session.
Very good. Thank you very much. Welcome to today's meeting, and we will open and close the meeting in memory of, and are there any individuals, council member, supervisor, I'm back on council member.
2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a
Chair.
row. Oh, my goodness.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was very saddened to hear of the passing of Marge Medellin, who, as several of you know, was a council member over at the city of Madera and mayor. She was actually California's first Latina mayor. She made a lot of history. She was a trailblazer, a role model, somebody who I looked up to and admired. We had a great relationship. And so very sad to hear of her passing. Our thoughts and prayers are with her family. And I believe the services are next week. We can provide that information for anyone who would like to attend, or you can just look it up on Jade Chapel. But sending prayers to her family during this time of loss.
Very good. And just to add on, she may be part of the only mother and son mayor combo in city Madera history. So I'm not sure if there was any other individuals that followed their mom or dad in that type of path. So yeah, she definitely left a great legacy. Are there any other individuals?
Yes, Chair. I did have one as well. Fern Ficino passed away about a week and a half ago. Very active and involved in the Ahwahnee Hills Regional Park. Great Rotarian and just a good friend. So sad to see her go.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing and hearing none, we will now move into the invocation and pledge of allegiance. We have Pastor Joe Alicia from Awakened Church of God. And I'm going to ask a special individual in the audience to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. She happens to be our county librarian, and I'm asking her to do this on this great occasion. Today is National Library Worker Day. So I thought that would be very appropriate.
Good morning. Good morning. I'd like to read uh, two verses from Psalm 116. I love the Lord because he hears my voice and my prayers for mercy. And then down in verse 16, it says, O Lord, I am your servant. Yes, I am your servant, born in your household. You have freed me from my chains. Let us pray. Father, thank you. Thank you because scripture encourages us and reminds us that when we pray, we don't pray in vain, but we pray to you and you hear us, Lord. We are posed today to make some decisions about our community, about our county, Lord, about our residents. And I pray, God, that you lead us in this, Lord. That you lead our board members, Lord, our chairman, Lord, all the people involved in these decisions, the departments, Lord, all the heads of those departments, Lord. I pray that you lead us in this moment, Lord. Thank you for allowing us to be part of such a beautiful, diverse community. Thank you for letting us be a part of such an amazing city, amazing town, amazing county, Lord. I'm so privileged to be a part of this. And I pray, God, that you lead us in all our decisions because, as your slogan says, in you, oh God, we trust. I thank you for everything. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, visible, liberty.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to public comment. As a reminder, the first 15 minutes of each regular session are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take action on any items presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their name and county of residence for the record. Are there any individuals like to make public comment? And we have a lineup.
Well, good morning, Madera County Board of Supervisors. Good morning, Chairman. So first and foremost, I'd like to introduce myself. I am Kyle Savage. I am the new field representative for Congressman John Duarte for Madera and Fresno counties. So that being said, I'm going to do my best because I'm very excited and eager to do the best I can in this new position. Furthermore, I did have a monumental time attending the National Vietnam War Veterans Day Memorial Service on March 29th at Courthouse Park here in Madera. It was a beautiful service to commemorate the sacrifices of Vietnam veterans and their families. Continuing on, the House recently passed the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2024, HR 4366, which includes $26.34 million in funding at the Congressman's request to meet critical constituent needs from building vital infrastructure to supporting local police departments. Congressman Duarte issued the following statement. I am pleased to join a bipartisan group of Republican and Democrats to pass legislation to fund the federal government in fiscal year 2024 that not only cuts wasteful government spending by $9 billion while preserving critical programs, but also includes more than $26 million in funding at my request to support critical local infrastructure, law enforcement, roads, and water projects in our district. Locally, Congressman Duarte was proud to advocate for $3.2 million in community funding for the County of Madera. Our office looks forward to hosting an official presentation with the County of Madera, and this funding includes Madera County's Parksdale Community Road Rehabilitation Project. The streets within the Parksdale community needs reconstruction and repair to help address safety concerns and improve access. This funding will be used by Madera County for engineering and rehabilitation, construction costs related to the Parksdale Community Road Rehabilitation Project. Thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you very much. And it's Sean Savage, right?
Kyle.
Kyle. Okay, Kyle.
Sean's
right.
better. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, I got the last name, not the first name, but could you kick out your contact information to all of us? I haven't had it, and it's been a few months since the last contact we've had with the field rep, so it'd be very helpful.
Of course, this definitely will do so. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Always so loud with my keys. Sorry. Good morning, county supervisors. My name is April Molina. I'm here from Olive Charitable Organization. I'm actually here for two reasons. The first one is to thank my county supervisor publicly for putting in on our stop signs, cross traffic does not stop. We were experiencing multiple car accidents with totaled cars on a regular basis for several years. And I reached out to him. He got that done for us. And since it was done several months ago, last summer sometime, we haven't seen one. So we've heard screeching tires, but nobody's cars were totaled. So that's a blessing. Thank you for that. The other part is we are officially, Olive is officially selling tickets to our fundraiser, and I'm inviting you to purchase and come and spend your money. We run a safe house for victims of human sex trafficking here in Madera, and unfortunately, there is a need. We have seen an increase in identified survivors in the last several years, and our house is normally full. There is a 1% chance that people experiencing human trafficking will get out of those circumstances without intervention, and we're looking to increase that percentage. And also, we've recently been approved to be a resource on the National Human Trafficking Hotline for this area. So I brought my card, I brought tickets, I brought flyers because I thrive on efficiency. And so I will leave the flyers up here along with my card. My card actually has the human trafficking hotline on it. So hand it to your staff, hand it to people, and tell them that that is an available resource, along with our 24-hour line is on there as well. So anyway, I would just love to see all of you there supporting our survivors. And that's it. That's the end of my spiel. And I've got a minute left. So thank you.
Maybe I missed it. Can you say the date of that again?
The date is Friday, May 31st. It's the weekend after Memorial Day. So, and it will be at Hatfield Hall, 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. We're going to have a guest speaker who was going to be sharing her story, her personal story. And so it should be a good time. We hope.
April, I'd just like to give you some good news. You don't have one county supervisor, you have 5 county supervisors. Okay, so otherwise we're off, the rest of it, the 4 of us are off the hook. You know, you're pointing to the one. But
Right.
I'd also like to say it's not really a cost, is it? We're not really spending our money. Aren't we investing our money?
Yes. So we are a nonprofit, and so you do get the tax write-off on that.
Well-
But yes, you are investing in people who are trying to change their lives.
Thank
So
you.
yes.
And for people who are working with people to change their lives and to make
Yes.
us a better community.
Yes.
So
In fact, the good news is we just had 2 move out on their own. It's fantastic. It's great to see the growth. It's great to see them doing well, especially considering where they've come from. So yes.
all right. So everybody here, look forward to an investment opportunity that has eternal rewards, correct? All right. Thank you. Just wanted to help out.
Thank you. I love business people. I'm not business minded. So,
April, thank you for all you do. And yes, you do have 5 county supervisors, but 1 got the signs up. So thank you.
that's right. Yeah. One got the signs up.
Well, you asked one.
I
you know,
did.
Yeah,
I did ask one. Well, I'm in his district. So
there you go.
have a good day. Thank you guys.
Sorry, you know what? I just want to put out a disclaimer. I don't give everybody such a hard time. April's a special case. So there you go. It's because I like her.
Good morning, county supervisors. My name is Elizabeth Cruz. I'm the Assistant Auditor Controller for the county. I'm here to let you guys know, or let you folks know, that the county financial statements, the ACFR, and the single audit are scheduled to be completed no later than budget hearings about that. So we're looking for everything to stay streamlined as much as possible.
Thank you for being here and mentioning that. And in terms of what are some of the plans, say, for the next fiscal year, some of the goals as far as getting the single audit out?
So we are on track now to get our 2024 financial statements done by December 31st. We start work on prepping those statements in April. So we're already getting down, reviewing accounts, reaching out to departments for information. The county should expect more information coming from us, reaching out and asking for more and more information. Part of our challenges is holding on to experienced staff. So long as we can hold on to that staff, we can make our deadlines.
All right. Well, thank you very much because, yeah, it's really helpful in terms of all of our departments and for budgeting purposes and grant purposes and so forth. So, as you're well aware, so thank you very much for that report and for those for that great goal. All right.
Great. Thank you.
Morning. My name is Lieutenant Ian Olguin. I'm the commander of Madera Area CHP, for the audience don't know. I just wanted to come here today. It's coming up on almost a year I've been here. And it kind of seems like time flies. And really just want to say thank you for your guys' continued support of our traffic safety concerns we have in Madera County. As you know, anytime law enforcement and the community can work together collaboratively, you experience the best results. And so I wanted to share our success we've had in 2023 with you and let you guys know what the great work the officers of Madera area have been doing. For 2023, Madera Area CHP removed 822 DUI drivers from Madera County's roadways. In addition to that, and these are the statistics I'm most proud of sharing with you, is there's been a 15.6% decrease in DUI traffic collisions in Madera County from 2023 to 2022. In addition to that, there's been a 50% decrease in fatal traffic collisions overall, and a 63.6% decrease in fatal DUI crashes. And again, that's something that it goes from coming to your community events to helping us get our word out, but also the proactive enforcement that our officers are doing. So thank you for that. And I appreciate your continued support. Springtime is coming up, and so that's when we typically see an increase in activity. So I'll be looking for your continued support in the future. I would ask that we're working on increasing our social media presence to let people know just what we are up to as far as traffic safety in your area. Please continue to work with me and communicate any traffic safety concerns that you have, and we'll be open to them. Just last Friday, we hosted Assemblywoman Soria at the Madera CHP office, and I opened that same invitation to you all if you have any concerns within your districts about traffic safety. Specifically, we talked about farm labor vehicles. That's been a hot topic lately, as well as some of the areas of concern she's had throughout the county. The second thing I'd like to do, as I'm running out of time here, is introduce our new public information officer, Sergio Moreno.
Good morning. Happy to be here. Just a little history about me. I was born and raised here in Madera. I graduated from Madera South in 2006 as a Coyote, and I'm the new public information officer, and I'm thrilled, happy to work and serve the community where I grew up.
Very good. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you all again.
Thank you very much and impressive results. And thank you so much for your great work.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Jared with Public Works. Just want to give a quick update on a couple things. First off, we did finish the repairs at Norfolk Transfer Station last week. That work was done by Thursday as promised. However, we were immediately followed by a snowstorm, which kept the transfer station closed, unfortunately. So I believe that facility is back open. So there's much needed repairs that were completed there. Also wanted to give a quick update. We had our first of 2 Clean California dump events last weekend at the Fermi landfill. My understanding is we served about 375 cars at that event. And then this coming weekend will be the event up at Norfolk Transfer Station. So just want to remind everybody about that.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Jared, that's Saturday, correct?
Yeah, the 13th. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals like to make a public comment? Anybody online?
No, nobody online that wants to make a comment.
Okay. Hands. Hey. Very good. Let's go ahead and move on to the consent calendar. Are there any items on the consent calendar that one of my colleagues like to have removed for further discussion? Any questions? Seeing and hearing none, are there any members of the public that have any questions regarding the consent calendar? If not, I'll bring it back and I'll accept the motion for action.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to discussion items. Item 6A.
Madera County Economic Development Commission, discussion and consideration of approval of the Madera County Economic Development Commission basic service level budget in the amount of $224,339.41 for the fiscal year 2024-2025.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the board, Chairman Poitras, county staff. We have the PowerPoint available. So my purpose here today is one, for our budget requests, and then two, just to give you an update as to what we've been working on for the last year or so. Okay, so one of the things that we focus on obviously is marketing Madera County, lead generation and tracking, membership in different organizations to promote Madera County, and our budget. So first of all, the first slide is we maintain and actively use our newsletter. It goes to over 1,500 subscribers, which are comprised of site selectors, real estate brokers, and other interested parties, investors, and are some of our stakeholders. Thank you. That looks a lot better. Additionally, we made an active presence at trade shows recently. I attended Westpac, How Fund, ICSC, and Team California oriented events, and the Central Valley Economic Development Corporation events. We have ongoing site selector broker virtual meetings. In fact, we have one on Thursday with site selectors interested in the industrial side. And that is organized through Central Valley Economic Development Corporation, which we're a member of. Basic economic update. California unemployment rate currently is 5.7%. Madera County unemployment rate is 9%. Central Valley unemployment rate is 9%. CPI 0.4% increase. And then all items less food and energy increased by 0.4%. Population estimated 0.6% increase in population over the next 5 years. Net migration, I think we all know this, coming from the coast and the Bay Area. Some of our current projects, was able to tour the AutoZone construction site yesterday. That should be open in June or July, actually probably July, and they'll start holding employment fairs. I want to say July. So I think in total, over time, they're looking at about 350 jobs, which will be great. City of Chowchilla is very excited about that. Spent time with them yesterday. Many projects, working on various confidential projects, working with Ready Roast and their expansion in the county. Equipment share, we finalized that. That'll be opening. That's out at Avenue 18.5. Warehouse Partners opened last year. In-N-Out Burger opened earlier this year. Ammon World, as you all know, my predecessors in the audience, one of his big projects. Miles Chemical, AG Machining, and we had great news recently about North Fork Mono Resort looking to break ground, hopefully this year. And then Smart and Final open in the city of Madera, and then been doing a lot of ongoing work with California Custom Processing and their expansion, which I believe over time will add about 25 new jobs. lead generation and tracking. We work with GoBiz on RFIs that seem applicable to the County of Madera and its cities. Our website has been known as the #1 lead generator, and we're actually working on a revamp of that. I have a couple slides that I'll show you in a minute. And then we receive specific broker requests. We had one yesterday from an investor looking for industrial property and residential projects. And then site selection companies. As I mentioned, we're going to be meeting with a group through the Central Valley Economic Development Corporation on Thursday. Our new website. A couple of my commissioners are up on the dais here, and one of them promoted or requested that we rebrand our logo, and thank goodness that he did that, because as on the left side, you can see our new logo, which I think represents our area, our county, as well as in totality of our assets, such as agriculture, recreation, the mountains, and our strategic location being located exact center of the state. And then the other slide is the landing page. We're actually going to replace that with a picture of AutoZone, because wherever I go in terms of conferences or site selector groups, everybody wants to know about AutoZone. I think that you'll see continued growth in that area, in the Chowchilla area, over time. There seems to be a tremendous amount of interest. And here's additional pages of our website. That should be live by the time we do our real estate forecast event on April 24th, which y'all are invited to. And presentations with organizations. I think I've already covered this. Regular contact with the governor's office of business and economic development. One of the things that we were charged with and that we were able to get moving last fall, we helped facilitate the relaunch of the Greater Madera County Industrial Association, which is up and going. They meet every month, which is exciting to get our local manufacturers talking to each other, develop synergies and share information, and for us to identify issues that we can be of assistance with. Very involved, the California Association of Local Economic Development and their legislative committee. And obviously, I think I've referenced this about 3 or 4 times, the Central Valley Economic Development Corporation. Great organization. Now to the fun stuff, our budget request from you all. Budget cycle numbers. As you all know, you guys cover the bulk share of our basic service level budget at 49.96%. And then the city of Madera covers 41%, and the city of Chowchilla covers about 86%. The difference between the county, or excuse me, the 2023-24 budget and the 24-25 budget is basically a 3% increase. And what that is covering is a 3.2% COLA for staff. That does not include myself. A 10% increase in cost of insurance. Our audit costs increased by $250 from $5,000 to $250. Increase in auto expenses for mileage from $3,000 to $3,500. An increased staff expense, mainly for travel, from $2,000 to $2,500. Increase in insurance. We added public liability insurance. We had inquiry from a couple of our members that requested that we cover that. So we went ahead and added that. And then we have not asked for an increase in this, but our budget has been impacted. There's been a 50% increase in utilities for us. And so that it also encompasses about our increase this year. So it's actually, I'm sorry, I misquoted earlier, is a 3.52% increase in the overall budget, which for Madera County, that represents a 4.6% increase to 9,000, or what equates to $9,893.13. So that basically covers our total budget for fiscal year 24-25 is $449,038.06. Thank you for your time and happy to entertain questions.
Very good. Thank you, Darren, for that report. I'm just kind of curious. Inflation affects the EDC too?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Wow. Okay, didn't know that. Very good. Well, thank you for that, again, for that report. I just had a question, on one of the earlier slides, in regards to the unemployment rate. I noticed, the state is, right around 5.7, and of course, we're at 9%. What do you know what the date is for that unemployment? Is it from, like, say, the most recent report or end of the
Yes.
year? Okay.
We ran that recent, right before, I think we ran it last week before we had to get the slide deck to you guys.
So it may have some seasonal type effects because of agriculture and so forth. So maybe during the summertime, it's probably going to be a little bit lower, but
I would make an assumption
Okay.
that statement is correct.
okay. Very good. Any questions? Yes, Supervisor.
Hi, Darren. Are you hosting the State of the County this year?
Yes.
Can you
So
send us that information?
yes. So what we did is the city of Chowchilla last fall decided to do a more broader economic summit. And being a stakeholder and a partner, we did not want to interfere with that because we title ours, economic and real estate forecast. So what we did is we flipped it, got permission from my executive committee. So the state of the county will probably be in October this year.
I see.
So, and April 24th, 11:30 at Madera Municipal Golf Course, we'll be hosting a lunch. It's $40 a person. It's also a fundraiser for us, but it covers our cost to do this. And we're going to have two brokers discuss industrial real estate and then agriculture and also / retail. So we got Colliers Tingy represented, and then Pearson Newmark represented.
Okay.
So we will definitely be doing a state of the county. And I'm sorry if we've added any confusion on that. We just wanted to help Chowchilla kind of do something new, which we thought was great. And we want to be a good partner with them.
Perfect. No, thank you very much for.
You're welcome.
Very
Almost
good.
called her council member. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
sorry,
I
Supervisor.
was going to start spreading rumors. I don't need that.
I know it's
Thank
any
you.
other comments from my colleagues? Seeing and hearing none, are there any comments from the public? There are none, so I'll bring back
Move
this.
to approve the budget item
I'll second.
We have a motion in a second.
with the congratulations.
Roll
on
call
what you
vote,
did.
please.
Oh, I should probably address
Supervisor
that.
Rogers,
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Yes.
Supervisor Wamha,
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you very much, Board. And one additional thing that Supervisor Rogers just mentioned to me, I'm going to be departing this position and taking the role of the president and CEO of the Fresno Madera Building Industry Association. I had planned on staying in this job in a very long time, but things being what they are, they made me a good offer. So we're presently, I think today is the last day of our application period, Mr. Chairman. I think that's that's correct.
Believe it might be I thought it was the 19th.
Maybe it's the 19th. My
Yeah.
apology. So if you have folks who you think would be a good fit here, please encourage them to apply. We've had a pretty good amount of applicants thus far, and the executive committee will be moving forward on making that selection, hopefully in the near future. But I will be on the job here a few more months, or unless they cut me loose early.
All right. Well, very good. Thank you so much. And the good news is you're not leaving us.
That's true. I'll still be coming before you.
Right.
All right. Thank
Exactly.
you very much.
Thank you. It is 10:31 approximately, but I see our probation chief back there and he's anxiously awaiting for item 6B. So Chris, come on down and let's go ahead and announce the item.
6B, Probation Department, resolution of an Office of Youth and Community Restoration, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution to authorize execution of a grant agreement between Madera or County of Madera and the California Human and Health Services Agency, Office of Youth and Community Restoration for less restrictive placements, discussion and consideration of entering into an agreement with the California Health Human Services Agency for less restrictive programs and placement to facilitate safe and successful reintegration of youth into the community in the amount of $1 million from December 15th, 2023 to December 31st, 2025, and authorize the Deputy Chief Probation Officer to sign.
Good morning, members of the board. Chairman Poitras. Chris Childers, your Chief Probation Officer. That's a mouthful of words. And to make it short and sweet, I'm going to recommend that the board approve one, a grant with the California Health and Human Services Office of Youth and Restoration for $1 million and enter into a contract to place our secure youth track youth in less restrictive placements, which would include housing, which would also include education services, halfway houses, and also provide transportation. And there's a litany of other items that will only benefit the youth upon their release and transition back to the community. And I would respectfully ask the board to approve both the execution of the grant as well as the contract with the state of California. I'm available for any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Great report. Are there any questions of Chief Childers? Wow. Great report. Are there any members of the public that have any questions or comments? Seeing and hearing none, I'll bring the item back for action.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
Supervisor Walha,
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Yes.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very
Thank you
good.
for your
Thank
time.
Thank
And
you
just
very
on a
much.
side note, we have a Correctional Academy graduation today at 2:00. If you haven't received the invitation, I just want to remind you. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are great events. We do have one more discussion item, but we will wait until after the public hearing to go to that item, which I will designate item 6C. So we'll move on to public hearings and
Public Works Department, Engineering Services Division, Solid Waste System Assessment and Evaluation Report. Presentation of the final Madera County Solid Waste Management System Assessment and Evaluation Report. Consideration to adopt a resolution approving non-contract self-hauling disposal fee increase at the Fairmead Landfill at North Fork Transfer Station and franchise hauler contractor operator disposal fee increases at the Fairmead Landfill to be effective July 1st, 2024. Consideration to adopt a resolution authorizing the Chief of Development Services and Auditor Controller to approve the annual franchise contract hauler rate adjustments in accordance with the provisions of the respective franchise contract and approve the annual contractor service fees adjustments in accordance with the provisions of the respective operating agreements for Fairmead Landfill and North Fork Transfer Station.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Jared Carter with Public Works here. With me today, I have Matt Treber, Chief of Development Services. Also have Terry Boveri from Raftellus, John Carlton from HDR, and then online we also have Caleb Moore with Tetra Tech. We also have Scott Cross. I don't know where he went, but okay, there he is. Scott, thanks. So the item before you this morning is consideration of the solid waste management study that's been performed. As you may recall, back in December workshop 2022, we presented and discussed with the board doing a comprehensive analysis of our solid waste program. And so Raftellus was engaged to do this study and provide a look into our system and evaluate several aspects of the operation as well as the financial health of the system. The report that's presented to you today outlines in fairly significant detail the things that were looked at and the outcomes of that. And we have a presentation here that Terry's going to take us through just to go through some of the key points and discussions. So with that, I'll turn it over to Terry.
Thank you, Jared. For the record, again, my name is Terry Boveri with Raftellus, Vice President and Project Manager for the engagement. Several of my colleagues couldn't be here today, but also participated and want to recognize their contributions as well as appreciate the contribution to all the stakeholders, members of the board, and staff for their contributions to this evaluation. So we have a short presentation. We're going to run you through the study approach, brief overview of outreach and engagement that was performed, the various options that we explored, and to conclude with some of the key recommendations out of the report. So there were 5 key areas as it relates to the assessment. One, first and foremost, was to solicit stakeholder input and engagement throughout this process. That was a key element of the engagement. Second was to evaluate and perform an operational scan to look at the operations of the system, examine some benchmarking. How do we compare
industry standards, neighboring communities, how do they handle solid waste management, explore a board-directed valuation of the sale of the landfill. And so we performed evaluation of the landfill, as well as explore other disposal options. Is the county doing, the correct operations relative to, stakeholder input and engagement? We kind of explore the different disposal options in context of that to give you some thoughts around that and some recommendations. So these were on this slide the key outcomes from the stakeholder outreach engagement. We had the website www.madcosolidwastestudy.com that was up throughout the process, that gave members of the public and community access to the going-ons related to the study from day one. We had one-on-one in-depth interviews, stakeholder surveys, and we had about 4 community events, not including the 2 last week that were held at the conclusion of the study to communicate findings to members of the public. One of the most important elements of the study was that the dollars and common sense, that folks valued a common sense approach to solid waste management that was cost effective. Other concerns were also present in the stakeholder outreach related to how do we address SB 1383 collection, interest for levels of service, long-term financial planning, and long-term planning as it relates to landfill capacity. In other words, is out-of-county waste an issue for the life of the landfill, exploring that within context of the financial implications. So based on that input, we developed a series of options that we analyzed, as well as some other items we'll touch on in the recommendations portion of the presentation. But you can see here, we started with a baseline, which is the status quo of operations, to explore what would the financial projections look like over the long-term life cycle of the landfill under current conditions. Then we compared that to 3 other key options. Option 1 was the loss of city and out-of-county waste, both collectively and independently. Disposal alternatives, if we were to send all the waste out of county, and another mixed waste processing facility. We also looked at or considered waste energy, but didn't really factor that in just simply because of the cost based on stakeholder input. We also considered governance, advisory alternatives, and we do have a recommendation on that we'll touch on. And of course, we looked at the sale of the landfill, which we'll touch on the recommendations portion towards the end. And then lastly, the organics. We did some modeling of organics. Would that have an impact on the tip fees and the forecast, depending on implementation of voluntary curbside program and community composting? So based on those options that we looked at and others that we didn't specifically model, but we'll touch on when we get to the recommendations portion of the study, you can see here by this table a high-level listing of each one of those options. And on the right-hand portion of the table, it lists how much we would need to increase our revenues in percentage terms to cover the costs over the next 5 to 10 years or so, based on the needs of the system. And what one of the key takeaways is that under option 1, if we do not take any city or out-of-county waste, that the rates would have to be higher. And that's because the net revenues that we generate from those customers helps to contribute towards the fixed cost of operations. When we explored the disposal system alternatives, such as sending the waste out of county or mixed waste processing, you can see the range of increases being higher than the baseline. And certainly 2B mixed waste processing would make sense, given that you'd have to make a substantial capital investment. It would increase operating and processing, so higher costs there. Lastly, organics diversion program, based on participation rates and voluntary organics, it doesn't appear that it would have a material effect to the financial condition of the system. But again, this only looks at the disposal side, not the not the effects necessarily to the collection rates. And community composting would have an effect there, and we have a recommendation on that in a moment. So in conclusion, in order to be consistent with our findings from the stakeholder outreach, if you want to have the lowest cost of operations, the current baseline status quo was our conclusion from our work efforts. If we were to follow through with maintaining the current system and implementing rate adjustments to the disposal system, consistent with the prior slide, the net effect to the various franchise collection zones within the unincorporated areas of the county would observe between a $4.50 and upwards of a $7.91 increase per month to the bill. It's important to note that the disposal cost increase is 85%. However, the pass-through on the collection bill is limited to 15% of the collection rate. So what you see here is the application of the 85% to the 15% to the current rate. Plus, there is a footnote on here that talks about the recognition of the indexing to the collection rates. And I'm not sure if Jared wanted to add anything more to that.
Yeah, I could just touch on that real quick. So what you see in this slide is the Red Rock rates, and that is with the annual CPI and fuel index adjustments that are by contract. Because of the period that index falls for that contract, we were able to calculate that. The AMAGCO rates, as the footnote explains there, because of the indice period, we don't have those rates yet. So when you see that adjustment of $5.55, that doesn't account for the CPI and fuel index adjustments that would be added to that. Our understanding and our belief is that that is going to be a very, very minimal cost at this point for this indice period based on what we've seen with the Red Rock adjustment. So we won't have those numbers specifically until probably later this month or towards the end of the month when the March CPIs come out.
Thank you, Jared. And the only other point to make about this is that because the study was more focused on disposal options and looking a little bit more holistically at solid waste operations within the county, we didn't emphasize as much, but would like to emphasize it here that we are forecasting the enterprise fund to go negative in fund balance. So there is a need to take action to adjust the rates, lest we have to rely on the general fund to help subsidize operations. And a lot of this is driven by the capital needs of the system, rising costs, closure costs. We were discussing this before the presentation this morning, but rising closure costs, among other things, that were factoring into the study. So there's a bit of a necessity to implement these rather sooner than later to avoid shortfalls within the system and deferral of necessary capital for the operation of the system. The bill impacts relative to those that self-haul to the system, you can see the increase here. On percentage terms, they are 85% roughly speaking, and that is because that they represent only the disposal costs, since these are customers that are self-hauling the material themselves. And you can see how much those fees would be going up for the facilities at the landfill and the North Fork transfer station. So with that, we have 5 key recommendations that we'd like to go into. The first one is to address one of the key issues, which was the rate equity. So the county tip fees charged to unincorporated residents is higher than those for the cities and for out-of-county waste. Why is that? The findings were that basically the county has limited unilateral options to raise the rates to the same level as unincorporated residents, because the cities have police powers and control over solid waste management within the municipalities, and they negotiate and they have their franchise haulers take it wherever they can find the best deal. And so the county is entering into agreements with the franchise haulers for the municipalities. And due to competition to the south of the county, the American Avenue landfill, you have to maintain market competitive rates to induce the hauler to bring the city's waste to the county. And the same could be said for out-of-county waste. There are market forces at play. We demonstrated through our modeling that there's a benefit to the unincorporated residents to bring that waste in due to economies of scale in the operating costs of the system with the contract operations, and the contribution of the cities and the out-of-county customers to the fixed costs of the system. Our recommendation here is because of the limited options that the board has based on our analysis, the best that can be done would be to attempt to re-explore the opportunity cost for the haulers within the city and see if county staff or the county could attempt to renegotiate some higher fees given the current market forces at play, with higher labor and fuel costs to have to drive a longer distance. So that was one of the key findings in addition to the other work effort that was done to explore other options that the board could entertain. But unfortunately, there aren't that many that can be done. So those were the findings of the studies and consequently the recommendation. The second one relates to the disposal operations. I already touched on how we looked at some alternative options and that really the lowest cost in the near term, if that's the priority, would be to continue the current operations, continue landfilling. The other element on here, the other key finding is to explore community composting. From the stakeholder outreach, there was a lot of interest in community composting. I think our recommendation there would be to consider a rebate program for on-site composting. You have a lot of single-family homes within the community. You have the available space. It's fairly cost-effective and could be a great way to help. I'm by no means a composting expert, and I do recognize that there are some things that you just can't compost that you may be able to do in other circumstances. However, some of the other research that we did into this lent that community-led composting programs, oftentimes supported by nonprofit. So the county, another recommendation in the report is that the county could support those activities of any grassroots nonprofit organizations to want to help support community composting the best way that it can. We have 3 more recommendations to go through. The third one relates to the franchise collection agreements. We had to obviously make ourselves aware of all the contractual arrangements. One of the current contracts is within the unincorporated county. The franchise collection agreement set to expire November 27. Due to SB 1383, there's a requirement of the county to offer voluntary, emphasize that voluntary curbside organic collections within required areas of the unincorporated portion of the county. Because of the capital investment required, if you want to try to minimize, again, from the stakeholders, the rate increases, the idea would be to spread those costs over a longer period of time. So if the county is going to enter into negotiations with the existing haulers, if you wanted to try to minimize the cost, considering, just a consideration to extend that agreement so you can recover that cost over a longer period of time produces a lower rate for those wanting to enter into in that optional service. The other thing that we wanted to mention through our review of the franchise collection agreements was that stakeholders indicated some lack of understanding around how the disposal cost pass-throughs work on the collection rates, and that's because they're related in percentage terms. So as I mentioned before, if the disposal rate goes up 85%, then the collection rate would go up 15%. So if one area's collection rate was slightly higher than another, the disposal pass-through from that would be slightly different. Although conceptually around 15% of the total bill is going for disposal. So that's why that's there. So we just recommended maybe if you're going to relook at those agreements, maybe unifying that so that way all the residential customers see the same nominal increase in their bills going forward. It doesn't materially affect anything, but it was just an observation based on our findings from our engagement. Lastly, as it relates to the franchise collection agreement, there is a 6% franchise collection fee that's charged. And initially there was a lot of stakeholder interest in this issue. and we talked through that at some of the community events. And one of the takeaways we had was thinking about use of those franchise fees having a better nexus to maybe what it was intended for. So if the vehicle, for example, the vehicles that are imposing a cost on the roadways, you could have a nexus of using some of the monies to the road fund would be a potential nexus, as well as the liner fund. So our recommendation here is just to try to consider a better nexus for the use of the franchise fees based on the stakeholder input in our study findings. Just two more issues to touch on, and then we can open it up for questions, perhaps. So with respect to the landfill, we did a independent certified valuation appraisal, and that valued at 18.5 million. Our conclusion on whether to sell the landfill was that in order to realize the 18.5 million, there needs to be waste that's being brought to that facility. So it's very likely that if you were to sell it, there need to be some sort of commitment that unincorporated would bring the waste to that facility to support the valuation. So in our recommendation, we think that if the county values maintaining control over disposal capacity and pricing in the county, would not recommend, selling the landfill. You wouldn't really get any value if you didn't commit the tons anyways. So if you're going to be bringing the waste anyways, it'd be better to just, our thinking would be better to just maintain the ownership of the landfill. Lastly, as it relates to stakeholder engagement, that was, an important part of this study, and also a lot of community members that felt that they wanted to have a better voice in that. And for that reason, in talking, with our team and with staff, we're recommending consideration of solid waste advisory committee. This way, you can have a more structured format for community stakeholder engagement, perhaps going forward. And with that, we'd like to open up for any questions the board may have.
Very good. Thank you for the excellent presentation. Are there any questions, comments from my colleagues?
Certainly
Yeah,
have a couple
Supervisor.
comments. I wondered if we might kick it out to the public first, and then if there's any comments they have that might come back, an opportunity to ask more questions.
Absolutely. We normally start here and then we open up the public hearing and then we bring it back for other discussion. So that would be excellent. So if there's no comments from my colleagues, this is a public hearing and I will open up the public hearing at this time. Are there any individuals who would like to comment?
None online.
Seeing and hearing none, we will close the public hearing and I'll bring it back here for any comments and action. So Supervisor.
Yeah. Anticlimactic, I think, is actually what comes to mind when I think about, how we got here, going all the way back to June 2022, I think it was, when we had our discussion about mandatory services as a result of 1383. And now here we are. And I think the reason we don't have a lot of comments online or folks waiting to make comments here is because of the great work that you folks did. So I just want to thank you for all the work. We also received a letter from some of those folks yesterday, I think, complimenting the county on their ability to listen and take input from stakeholders, which says a lot, because I think at one of our first meetings we had with those groups, the message loud and clear was the county's not listening. And so we've come a long way over the last year and a half, and I really do appreciate it. And I also want to commend Jared Carter for all his work on the solid waste review. I think I said it at our town hall last week, but your work with RCRC, your work with CSAC, your little work at the Little Hoover Commission has been, instrumental in, what the state's doing around 1383. And I think it's also part of the reason why we are where we are with our solid waste program. And I think we were chatting a little bit about this before the meeting in regards to our tipping fees, which is always a big concern. And I think it was mentioned that our tipping fees, with some analysis, has some of the most competitive tipping fees in the state. So when we talk about an exemplary program, I think Madera County's done that, and I think we've proven that through the research with Raptellus. So again, I want to thank you for all the work. And with that, I would move to approve and accept the report and accept staff's recommendations. But I would ask that staff work towards creating that advisory committee. I don't think that was in our recommendations, but I would add that on to.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any other comments? If not, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Supervisor Wamha,
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes,
Vote passes 5-0.
very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So we will now go back to discussion items. Item 6C, which was the item that we added on to the agenda. Mr. Varney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Probably should have the clerk read this into the. record.
Yes.
Item. Read the item.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it would be this item 6C that we added onto the agenda. Yeah. So I guess read it into the record. Thank you.
Discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution appointing Michelle May as retired annuitant to the position of Assistant Director of Human Resources, excuse me, effective April 10th, 2024.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As noted in the resolution, staff feels that the appointment of Michelle to this position is a critical need position based on the advanced information and knowledge that somebody has to be able to crunch to be the Assistant Director of Human Resources. There are significant openings right now in the Human Resources division or office department, whatever we'd like to call it, including the director, the assistant director, and one human resource manager. And I'm available to answer any questions that the board may have about this.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any questions of Jay?
No questions, but we may want to fix the board letters as May 7th.
I think it auto prints that
Yeah.
way, but thank you for bringing that to our attention. We'll get it fixed once it's absorbed into the system for this meeting.
And
Thank
with that, I'll move to approve.
Second the motion. I have full confidence in Michelle.
All right, very good. We do have a motion and a second. Are there any comments from the public? Seeing and hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Supervisor Wamha,
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes,
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
thank you. Let's move to supervisor and staff reports. I'll start to my right. Supervisor Wamha.
Caught me off guard a little bit.
We can go to somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what? Supervisor Rogers is never caught off guard, so go ahead.
I was happy to attend the Regional Health Authority and still much discussion about the Chowchilla Hospital and its impacts on the local, or Chowchilla Hospital, the Madera Hospital and its impact on the region. I want to thank Camarina Health for their opening of the critical services unit they opened in Chowchilla, and that was a fantastic addition to the clinic, a fantastic addition to our community, and we really appreciate that. Also attended the Fair Board dinner on Friday night with Matt. Matt and I were both there, and well attended. Over 350 people there, and they raised significant amount of money. It's always amazing to see what a small community like Chowchilla does at these events for the community. People dug deep. I don't think there was a dessert that went under $1,500. And Matt and I are working really hard right now to get the entire pavement area of the county fair repaved. So we're working on the budget for that, trying to get people to donate and community service organizations, what have you. So it seems to be coming together, and we're hopeful. Anyway, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Supervisor McCauley.
Yeah, thank you. Nothing to report.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Nothing to report, but I do want to thank Kyle for being here today and Shirley to thank Congressman Duarte for the $3 million investment in the Parksdale roads. We are super excited to get that project started and it's much needed out in the community. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Supervisor Wamhoff.
I went through all of my notes to determine that I have nothing to report. So thank you.
Very good. Well, hey, you did the research. That's great. County Administrative Officer.
I know the board is all aware, but I didn't know if the public was aware that the governor had granted the stress hospital loan program loan to the Madera Community Hospital campus. So that's certainly a very positive step forward for hospital care in County of Madera. And I don't have anything further to report. Thank you.
And in addition to that, AAM was approved as the hospital operator in a separate action. Oh, very good. Yeah. Yeah, just some minor stuff. Yeah. Supervisor McCauley.
Yeah, I apologize. I wanted to quickly thank our roads department team for the fantastic job they did last week, keeping our roads clear during that unusually heavy snowstorm for the time of the year. I think when I was out there Friday afternoon, roads were already relatively clear, and by Saturday, all our subdivisions were clear, as well as the major arterial routes. So fantastic job by our roads department.
Okay, thank you, County Council.
No report, Chairman. Thank you.
Clerk of the board.
I've checked my phone and there's nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. Great meeting and have a great rest of the day.